Hey YouTube, welcome back to another exciting episode of Vin Plays Yahoo Fantasy Football. This is our Week 5 recap show. I have to admit, I'm filming this a little bit sooner than I'd like to be recording this. It is Tuesday, October 13th. We do have Tuesday Night Football here. The Titans will be playing the Buffalo Bills, and well, looking at our team right now, we are in a very good spot here. We haven't sealed the deal, so to speak. We haven't officially won, and hopefully I'm not jinxing myself, knock on wood. But we have a sizable lead over our opponent here, Beastie Boys. He only has Josh Allen left to play, who is playing tonight since the game is actually going on. He rolled the dice and kept his Buffalo player, I should say, he only has one, in risking the game being canceled because of plague. But I think I have about like a 50-ish point lead on him. So unless Josh Allen goes super crazy and puts up unprecedentedly high numbers, but you know what, it's not outside the realm of possibility. I think Dak Prescott put up a 40 plus points in this league's scoring format, which is a 6 point per passing touchdown league. So it's not outside the realm of possibility considering how the year has been going. But I think I'm in good shape here. So let's go ahead and start. As you can see, I started Gardner Minshew. He did pretty well, actually. You know, at 20 plus points is more or less what I was expecting from him. 301 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, a little bit of rushing yards. Looks like he had a fumble as well. But if you recall from last time, we were starting Gardner Minshew because Aaron Rodgers is on bye. The Green Bay Packers are not playing this week. So, you know, at 23 points, that's perfectly respectable, and that's more or less what the output that I expected out of him, that is. It was a little bit surprising that DJ Chark really didn't do well during this game, and I also heard that he got injured towards the end of the game. So we'll see how that goes for the future of future games. If DJ Chark is out, then like I said before, I don't know that I trust Minshew without DJ Chark. He didn't do much during this game, so we'll just see how it goes. But going down the list, Robert Woods, Mr. Reliable himself, he was very reliable during this game. He had a crazy 50-yard touchdown run, which was great. Jared Goff looked really good during this game too. Yeah, we're very glad to have Robert Woods on our squad. He is very much the anchor to our receiving core right now. So yeah, Robert Woods did really well. Josh Jacobs did super well. Man, this game was pretty crazy. The first, I want to say the first half, they were behind. They were down, I think, by around 2 touchdowns, maybe 3 to 14 or something like that. But then they just kept pounding the ball, and Derek Carr actually looked really good during this game. He had a few really long bomb passes, one of which was to Henry Ruggs, which was pretty crazy. This game was, he and the Raiders pulled off this upset victory. But, you know, Josh Jacobs, he did really well. The 23 rushing attempts, you know, that's well within the workload he's been getting so far this year. 2 rushing touchdowns. And I heard on a podcast, anytime that the Raiders are in a game or, you know, are in a competitive game or are leading the game is when Josh Jacobs gets his good games and his touchdowns. So in this game, the game was competitive, and throughout most of the second half, I want to say halfway through the third quarter and on, they were ahead of Kansas City in this game. So, you know, it makes sense that Josh Jacobs, you know, he got all his yards and his touchdowns during this game. But yeah, that's something to look out for. Plus matchups will be matchups where the game is competitive and Kansas City, the Raiders, I should say, are not trying to play catch up or aren't too far behind their opponents. But moving on, we have Carson here, who did really well as well. He looked great. His running style is very violent and very much encourages contact and looks for contact when he runs. It's pretty typical Chris Carson day. He did grab a touchdown. He did run in a touchdown. So Chris Carson, yeah. The only hang-up I have with Chris Carson at this juncture is health-wise. Since his running style is so physical, our fingers are crossed that he holds up for the entire season. Darren Waller also had a long bomb touchdown from Derek Carr. Darren Waller was really good. I'm really glad I was able to make this trade, and I actually feel really sorry for the person I traded with. I traded Matt Ryan and Jonnu Smith for Darren Waller because he was really hurting at quarterback, and Matt Ryan super bombed this week. He looks totally out of sorts. It was more or less a continuation from the Green Bay game where he did not play well without Julio Jones. And yeah, he did not do well for the guy that I traded with for Roto-Rooters, and I feel kind of bad about that. I really expected because Matt Ryan had a cherry matchup against Carolina, and I actually watched this game too, so he did not look good at all. Carolina, on the other hand, looks surprisingly good. Teddy Bridgewater is a pretty good player. And not only that, but their defense looks really adequate. It looks pretty good. But anyways, yeah, Darren Waller did great. He did better than I expected here because of Kansas City's defense. Kansas City's defense is pretty good, so particularly in their secondary. So I'm very happy about his performance here. He exceeded my expectations. Someone who didn't exceed my expectations, quite to the contrary, is Justin Jefferson here. I ended up starting Jefferson. If you recall my last video, I was debating whether or not I wanted to start Marquis Brown, Mr. Hollywood Brown, or Raheem Mostert, because Mostert was trending towards playing, both of which would have been a better start than Justin Jefferson, which was a little bit surprising. This game actually took on a very old school feel to it in that it was low scoring. Minnesota had the ball for most of the first half, and they were running it for the most part. It seemed more like a defensive battle with Minnesota being able to shut down Seattle's offense for most of the first half. And towards the second half, Russell Wilson and the Seahawks did get things rolling. And man, the way that this game ended with a winning drive by Mr. Unlimited himself, Russell Wilson. Yeah, this was a crazy fun game to watch. Probably the best game of the week, for me anyways, the best game I've seen for this week so far. Well, I guess, tonight could be the best game. We still haven't watched that yet. But going back to Justin Jefferson, he had an off night, and rookies tend to have off nights like this. Adam Thielen seemed like he was open all the freaking time. I think he caught like 12 passes or something. It was something ridiculous like that. But I expect moving forward, let's go ahead and check his schedule coming up. Okay, he's on bye. Actually, we got Atlanta this coming week for week 6. So that would be a great matchup there. And then he's on bye for week 7. I wouldn't mind starting him against Atlanta. I'm kind of leaning towards Mostert because Mostert looks super good. I like watching this game. Mostert didn't skip a beat. Not only that, but they used him in a more of a workhorse role. There was some speculation that since he was coming back from injury, that his workload would be limited, and McKinnon, is it Jared McKinnon? I keep forgetting. Josh or Jared McKinnon would cut into his workload, and maybe it would be more of a 50-50 split, at least to start off with, since he's coming back from his injury. But no, he was basically the workhorse role. He was getting all the rushes, and he was on the field for most of the time. So, and he looked great. He looked super fast. He's easily the best back of this game. So depending on his matchup, let's go ahead and take a little peek-skis here. Against the Rams, the Rams are good defense, but yeah, I might just start Mostert here. Let's go ahead and another consideration would be Marquis Brown. I'm just going to take a little quick peek. I'll go over this during the starter show, but against Philadelphia, that's a tough matchup as well. But just going down the list, Justin Myers also, is it Justin Myers? Jason, I should say. Jason Myers also underperformed here, but the game flow, the flow of this game wasn't what we expected it to be. Everyone expected it to be a shootout, and it turned out to be more of a slog and more like a heavyweight battle rather than one of those super quick flyweight battles. but yeah, we will be dropping him for hopefully Mason Crosby, our old kicker, or we'll look out for whoever's on the waiver wire. The Los Angeles defense did really well for us as well, playing the Washington football team. This game was pretty boring actually. Los Angeles had the game in hand for more or less the entire game. It was disappointing to watch Antonio Gibson. He was stuffed like a lot, and not only that, but he had more of a split as far as the workload with what is his name? The other back there, the pass catching back on that squad, which was a little disappointing since he was taking over the workhorse role on that team in Washington. But the only really noteworthy thing about this game was that Alex Smith actually got to play. Because I almost said Keenan Allen, not Josh Allen, Allen. Jeez, I forget his name now too. The starting quarterback for the Washington football team, he got hurt, so Alex Smith came in to back him up, and he played for a good half. I want to say almost 3 quarters, and he held up pretty well. He didn't play. He held up physically pretty well, that is. He did not perform very well at all. I think he had around 6 sacks. And he very much contributed to the Los Angeles, the Los Angeles defense here, racking up all these points. But, it was very cool to see Alex Smith back. I'm not sure that, he's anywhere close to the player that he used to be. But, this is his first game back, and the O-line in Washington isn't all that great. But we'll see what the future has in store for him as the season progresses. I believe I read that Allen was going to be the starter for Week 6, though, moving forward with the Washington football team. Quick glance at my opponent's side. Tyler Lockett again underperformed. Watching this game, there's no doubt in my mind now. Tyler Lockett is the second receiver or the second look in Seattle now. DK Metcalf is the number 1 on that team. Russell Wilson was looking to DK Metcalf for all of the big plays and all of the big moments. DK Metcalf came down with it. It's like I want to say that a week or two ago, I was contemplating, or I was thinking, this might be a 1A 1B situation between Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. That I don't think that's the case anymore. I really think that DK Metcalf is the number 1 in Seattle now, and he is the guy that you'd want to own in Seattle. He is the wide receiver that you'd want to own in Seattle. And it's only his second year. It's crazy to think how good he's going to be and how good his career is going to be, particularly playing with Russell Wilson. Jamison Crowder, man, dude, he just keeps performing. It's so surprising. He gets all this volume and he can turn it into all these points. I think all 3 games this year he's had over 100 rushing yards. So yeah, Jamison Crowder is a WR2 this year, and we'll see if it continues. Adam Gase and the Jets are still 0-5, are still defeated, the opposite of undefeated. They are still winless. And now there's rumblings that Le'Veon Bell might be traded, that they're shopping Le'Veon Bell, and there's a lot of animosity between him and his coach, Adam Gase. They have some sort of social media feud going on right now, apparently. But yeah, Jamison Crowder, he just, regardless of who's at quarterback, Darnold or Joe Flacco, he has performed. So yeah, kudos to starting Jamison Crowder. And I give it up to my opponent here, to Beastie Boys, because he lost a few players because of COVID. Like, he lost Melvin Gordon because that game was postponed because of the plague. And as you can see down there, Michael Thomas and Chris Godwin are out because of injuries. Michael Thomas is out actually, though, not so much because of injuries, but because of disciplinary reasons. Apparently, he punched one of his teammates during practice, so that's a big no-no. And he sat out last night's game against the Chargers, which was also a very exciting and good game. Drew Brees isn't as washed as I thought he was. I think maybe it takes a little while to warm up, because during the first half of that game, he looked pretty washed up, but he really warmed up towards the end of the second half, or the end of the first half into the second half. But going down the line here, there's nothing really notable. Joshua Kelly, I should say, he underperformed last night, and you know, it really looked like it is Justin Jackson's backfield in that Chargers backfield. So I'm not feeling really great about Joshua Kelly there. Zach Ertz also, I don't know what it is about Zach Ertz. I've only seen one Eagles game this year, and that was during week 1. But from what I'm reading and hearing, Zach Ertz is not only underperforming, but he is, since they are so depleted at their wide receiving and basically general receiving core. With Goddard out, they still don't have Alshon Jeffrey. Jalen Reagor is out, and Deshaun Jackson was out during this game. But the opposing defenses can just load up on Zach Ertz and cover and like double cover him, or just worry about him in general. So that's really not allowing him to grab any balls and score any points, and conversely score any fantasy points. That's more or less it on anything significant on my opponent's side. Indiana, we talked about how good that defense is, or seems to be so far, and you know, they didn't disappoint this week with 11 fantasy points. Let's go and look at, we could take a peek at our standings right now. You know, nothing's official since there's one more game to go, but you know, I'm going to be coming out 4-1. Well, knock on wood. After tonight, hopefully, I'll be coming out 4-1. You know, the odds are in our favor, but we'll see. I believe Vaughn, like Donkey Kong, won his matchup this week as well, so he will remain at first place. Blue Balls, I believe he is losing this week. So Blue Balls, he will be going down to 3-2, and I believe it's going down 1 this week, so he will probably pop back up into 3rd place. Let's go ahead and check out our team right now to think about who we might want to pick up on waivers. We have a bit of a problem here because Le'Veon Bell is coming off of IR, and I need to make a room on my bench, a spot on my bench for him to come off. Yahoo won't let me make any waiver claims or pick up or anybody until I drop somebody and release Le'Veon from the IR spot, essentially. So right now, considering our next week, you know, this is going to be really tough because we have guys on bye next week. Let's go ahead and peek forward. We are able to start Aaron Rodgers here now that they're off bye, but as you can see, Chris Carson, Darren Waller, and Josh Jacobs are all on bye. So all of our running backs and our tight end are on bye. So we need to stick with Mike Gesicki here, or we need a second tight end. You know, I think Mike Gesicki is our best bet so far, considering the waiver wire, or the free agents that are available. But Mike Gesicki we need to keep, and yeah. So right now, let's go back to week 5. Right now, I'm probably leaning towards Minshew. Yeah, I'm sorry, Gardner. You know, you did well for us this week, but we will probably be letting go Gardner Minshew here. I actually tried to make a trade before the week started to make room for Le'Veon. I tried to actually trade Le'Veon Bell and Marquis Brown, like another package deal, for Nick Chubb. But the Nick Chubb owner, she really wasn't feeling that deal. She's like in the 7th spot in our league. So I tried to lean on that she needs to have a win now mentality. But yeah, she wasn't feeling that. And not only that, but she won this week as well. So I don't think there's any hope for a trade like that going down. But yeah, right now I'm leaning towards just releasing Gardner Minshew because right now we also need to swap out our kicker, because next week actually Jason Myers will be on bye, so we cannot use him. And I believe the matchup for Los Angeles is also bad, so ideally we'd want to swap out. Yeah, it is against San Francisco, which, it might be a good matchup if, as long as Jimmy Garoppolo isn't starting. Actually, maybe even if Jimmy Garoppolo was starting, because he had an awful game on Sunday, and he actually got pulled during the second half. CJ Beathard, he was pulled for CJ Beathard because he was performing so poorly. He threw 2 interceptions. The news that's going on about it right now is that Jimmy Garoppolo is still hurt, and he came back too early from his injury, so that's why he performed so poorly. But if CJ Beathard does start, Los Angeles defense won't be a bad play. I wouldn't actually mind starting them again this week. Taking a quick peek at the waiver wire, Jared Goff is still there, Teddy Bridgewater, and it's very unfortunate. I don't think I brought it up during this video anyways, but Dak Prescott is lost for the year because he broke his leg in a very gruesome fashion this week. So Andy Dalton, the backup for Dallas, well, now the starter for Dallas, since Dak is out for the year essentially, and it's really sad too, because he was on a record pace for yards. He was probably going to beat the record by Peyton Manning, and he was on a contract year as well. So for him to get hurt like this so devastatingly and so gruesomely, actually, it was really gross to watch, but really sad for him. But as far as quarterbacks are concerned, if I was looking for a quarterback, Andy Dalton would be one of the people on top of that list. Looking at other positions though, at wide receiver, Mike Williams had a fantastic game last week. Let's go ahead and take a good peek on there. Mike Williams had a good game last week. I'm not really seeing too many other people's here. Henry Ruggs had a great game, but next week he's going to be on bye, so we probably won't look to pick him up, even if we could. But right now our bench is pretty stacked. There's no one else I really want to drop. Maybe the next guy on the list we'd want to drop is probably Jarvis Landry, but we really don't want to drop Jarvis Landry. He's been pretty steady for at least the last 2 or 3 games, now that it seems like he's getting healthier, because to start the season apparently he was still hurting from off-season injury, or recovering from off-season surgery, I should say. Running backs concerned, the big hotness, or the hotness for a lot of waiver wires, or a lot of leagues on the waiver wire, is Alexander Mattison. He has already been owned in our leagues, so we do not have to worry about Alexander Mattison, or we don't have to look out for picking him up. I still, if I had space, I still wouldn't mind rostering Zach Moss, because I think he could be a productive back in that backfield, particularly if he comes back and he's a goal line back for that team. And then otherwise, other than Zach Moss, I'd probably want to pick up just the handcuff guys, Tony Pollard, maybe even Gus Edwards or J.K. Dobbins, actually, in case somebody gets hurt in that backfield. If Mark Ingram gets hurt, that'd be a lottery ticket right there. Or Gio Bernard. I believe Chase Edmonds is also owned in this league. I think that pretty much covers everything. Well, actually, a quick note about Le'Veon Bell. They are shopping him, apparently. There is news that they are shopping him. The Jets are shopping him, so he might get traded, before the month ends, or towards the end of the month. We'll see how that goes. I'm not exactly sure who I'd want him to be traded to. Knee-jerk reaction, I'd like him to go back to the Steelers, but ideally he'd be traded to the Steelers for James Conner, so they just swap running back so he could go back to his old glory role, to the glory days that were his time. That was his time with the Steelers a few years ago, when Le'Veon Bell was like the #1 draft pick in most of fantasy. But that pretty much goes. That pretty much concludes the Week 5 recap show here. Even though it's not really a recap yet, because we haven't won yet, anyways. Knock on wood. But thanks again so much for watching another episode of Vin Plays Yahoo Fantasy Football, and I'll see you next time.